What if you woke up in the dead of night, your heart racing, and you felt as if you weren't alone? A sliver of darkness shifts at the corner of your vision, something lurking in the shadows, just beyond the threshold of light. This isn't just your imagination. Many people around the world report encounters with elusive, shadowy figures known as shadow people. But who, or what, are they? And why do they seem to invade our most vulnerable moments? Stay tuned as we explore real-life encounters with shadow people, diving into spine-chilling stories that might just shake your understanding of reality. Imagine being a child, lying in bed, feeling an icy chill crawl up your spine as you glance towards your closet. What would you do if you saw a figure, dark and indistinct, standing silently, watching you? Many have experienced this eerie phenomenon, and let me assure you, you're not alone. As we delve deeper into this haunting narrative, we'll unpack not just accounts of terrifying encounters but also the mysteries that envelop them. Research tells us that shadow people often appear in times of stress, fatigue, or anxiety. These encounters vary in intensity. Some report fleeting glimpses, while others describe feeling a palpable presence pressing down on them. But do these beings have a purpose, or are they merely figments of our overactive imaginations? Some claim these encounters have left them feeling watched, while others report an overwhelming sense of dread. You might be wondering, what do they want? That's exactly what we hope to uncover. Did you know that nearly 15% of the population has reported a shadow person sighting at some point in their lives? Striking, isn't it? It blurs the lines between reality and the supernatural, inviting skepticism and intrigue alike. People from different cultures across the globe have described shadowy figures in varying contexts, suggesting there might be something more universal at play. How deep does this rabbit hole go? As we proceed, let's consider a particularly hair-raising account from a woman named Sarah, who experienced a chilling shadow person encounter during her college years. One night, studying late in her dimly lit apartment, she felt an unsettling prickling at the back of her neck. As if drawn by a magnetic force, she turned around and there it was, a tall, dark figure standing by her open window. The figure seemed to blend seamlessly with the darkness. Its presence was heavy, almost as if the air had solidified around it. For a fleeting moment, Sarah felt paralyzed, unable to move or scream. When she finally mustered the courage to shout, the figure vanished without a trace. What leaves many astonished is not just the encounter itself, but the emotions that persist long after: fear, confusion, and an insatiable curiosity about the unknown. Some psychologists suggest that shadow people could symbolize our own fears or unresolved issues. But why do they appear so ominously? And why do certain individuals seem more susceptible to these encounters than others? Consider the unsettling thought that shadow people might not just be confined to the realm of dreams and nightmares. A study conducted in the early 2000s suggested a correlation between sleep paralysis and shadow person sightings. Sleep paralysis, a phenomenon where an individual is momentarily unable to move upon waking or falling asleep, can create the perfect backdrop for spotting these dark figures. The brain, in a state of semi-consciousness, can conjure vivid experiences, prompting the imagination to take control. But what if some sightings are genuinely paranormal? Another intriguing story comes from Mark, a self-proclaimed skeptic-turned-believer after his own unsettling encounter. During a camping trip with friends, he awoke in the middle of the night to find his tent's entrance unzipped and a shadowy silhouette standing outside. Initially convinced it was one of his friends trying to scare him, he called out their name. Silence ensued, but the figure remained unmoved. When he finally mustered the courage to peer outside, the figure disappeared into the woods, leaving Mark with a mix of exhilaration and dread. Did I really see it? He wondered in disbelief. Shadow people can create that unsettling dichotomy. Are they real, or are they just tricks played by our tired, restless minds? To further unravel the mystery, let's explore a few theories surrounding these elusive beings. Some people believe they may be capable of traveling between dimensions. What if these shadow people are from another realm, crossing into our world, their appearances fueling our curiosity and fear. Others suggest they could be manifestations of energy from traumatic experiences, surfacing when we are at our most vulnerable. Still, the most compelling theories suggest that shadow beings may be observers, silently watching our lives as though we're on display. You might find it fascinating how different cultures interpret shadow people. In some Native American traditions, these beings are regarded as spirits of the deceased, an ominous sign that something needs to be acknowledged. Meanwhile, others view them as interdimensional beings, expressing that their presence serves as a reminder of the thin veil between worlds. What perspectives resonate with you? Now, let's pivot to another chilling tale, this time from a young man named Jeremy, who shared his harrowing experience from a troubled time in his life. Struggling with depression and anxiety, Jeremy often stayed up late contemplating his existence. It was during one of these insomnia-ridden nights that he first encountered the shadow figure. He vividly described it as a dark silhouette that glided across his bedroom wall while he lay unable to move. The figure seemed to pulse with the same rhythm as his heartbeat, intensifying his feelings of despair. In that moment, Jeremy felt its energy wrap around him, as if the shadow person was feeding off his negativity. What makes Jeremy's experience so impactful is the emotional weight it exposes. The shadow person left behind more than fear, it instigated a longing for understanding. Had he inadvertently invited this dark presence into his life through his own emotional turmoil? After months of therapy, Jeremy came to view his shadow person not just as an adversary, but as a broken reflection of himself, a twisted mirror illustrating the struggles he had yet to confront. This raises a significant question: are shadow people merely figments of our imagination, or do they represent something more profound? The psychological interpretation often feels much safer when confronting the unknown, allowing us to dismiss our experiences as stress-induced visions. However, as more individuals share their similar encounters, it becomes increasingly difficult to dismiss them as mere illusions. Now, here's something you didn't expect. Some researchers believe that shadow people might be linked to sleep disorders. Numerous cases report that the appearance of shadow figures coincides with specific conditions, such as sleep paralysis and narcolepsy. People often awaken feeling a presence in their room, only to find they're unable to move, their bodies trapped between the waking world and the realm of dreams. Could it be that these encounters are the result of overactive neurons during sleep, caught between consciousness and unconsciousness? As we dig deeper into these haunting tales, let me share another account from a woman named Emily, who describes her experience living in a home rich with history, filled with generations of secrets and untold stories. After moving in as a young family, she couldn't shake the feeling that unseen eyes were vigilantly observing her every move. In the whispers of the night, her children often reported seeing dark figures darting past windows, much to Emily's disbelief. Yet one fateful evening, as she tucked her kids into bed, she felt an overwhelming chill sweep through the house. Turning towards the staircase, she saw a shadow gently descending, crystallizing the fears she had ignored. Was it a ghostly presence from the past, or potentially a fractured echo of the house's history? The sheer mystery fuels curiosity, tantalizing those eager to understand the motive behind shadow people's existence. You might be pondering, does such a phenomenon have anything to do with the physical location or energy of a place? As we unravel these narratives, we'll navigate through both personal accounts and historical interpretations, alongside the underlying questions that linger. It's essential to consider the aspect of fear that shadows invoke. Most encounters leave individuals feeling a chill down their spine, instilling fear both in the moment and for years to follow. The idea that shadow people might know our deepest fears cultivates a sense of unease. They might thrive on our anxiety as a source of energy. But could they also carry warnings? Or are they simply manifestations of our darkest thoughts? As we contemplate these themes, we dive into the compelling stories of individuals who later found healing through their experiences. While some encounters with shadow people trigger panic and distress, others report cathartic awakenings. How would you respond if a perceived threat turned out to be a catalyst for transformation? But what of the skeptics? With every narrative of terror, there exists a counterargument grounded in psychological explanation. Even the most robust encounters can be dissected through the lens of sleep science, neurology, and stress responses. Whether we prefer to view shadow people as supernatural phenomena or psychological constructs, each perspective offers unique insights into the human experience. So, stay with us as we embark on the second half of our exploration. Just ahead, we'll hear more compelling accounts, psychological perspectives, and perhaps even uncover a few secrets that shine a light on the nature of shadow people. What lies beneath the surface of these intriguing encounters? As we peel back the layers, you might find yourself questioning not only the existence of shadow people but also the very nature of fear and the human psyche. What comes next will leave you speechless. As we continue to unravel the mysterious tapestry of shadow people, we delve deeper into the psychological and cultural implications of these encounters. Beyond personal accounts, we face the deeper questions that challenge the boundaries of reality. Are these experiences merely reflections of our minds grappling with fear and anxiety, or do they hold clues to something much larger than ourselves? Let's return to the narratives, the very essence of our inquiry. A particularly striking example comes from a man named David, who shared his story on an online forum dedicated to shadow people experiences. David was an avid outdoorsman, finding solace in solo excursions to remote locations where he could escape the hustle of daily life. However, during one such camping trip in the woods, he encountered something he couldn't explain. Awakened by a rustling sound outside his tent, he unzipped the opening to peer out into the darkness. What he saw sent shivers down his spine, a tall, shadowy figure standing eerily still under a moonlit tree. At first, David thought it might be a fellow camper, but as he called out, the figure stood motionless, as if absorbing the very essence of the night. That moment froze time. He felt an inexplicable pull towards the figure, an urge to understand. But as he stepped out into the cool air, the entity dissolved into the shadows from which it had emerged, leaving him alone and bewildered. The experience haunted him for weeks, driving him toward urban folklore, mythologies, and ultimately the study of the paranormal. What does it mean? He pondered. Why was I chosen to witness it? It's tales like David's that compel us to consider our encounters within the framework of the mystical and ethereal. One compelling avenue of exploration arises from examining whether shadow people operate on a different frequency or dimension altogether. Could they be intrusions from a parallel reality, beings that pop into our world briefly before disappearing? Some enthusiasts assert that shadow people exist in a dimension that is not easily perceptible to human senses but can manifest under specific conditions, such as heightened emotional states or deep meditation. For some, this transcendent perspective offers a beacon of hope that awareness can provide bridges between these realms, enabling communication or even coexistence. This concept aligns with various spiritual beliefs found across the globe. In some cultures, shadow people are perceived as protective spirits or guide figures that emerge when individuals experience dramatic life changes. Their intentions may not solely revolve around instilling fear but could also convey assistance during tumultuous times. It's a duality that prompts us to question our perceptions. Are we viewing these shadows through lenses stained with our fear responses, or is there a deeper interplay of energies at work? Let's turn our attention to a story from Clara, an individual whose experience tethered itself to her pursuit of spiritual understanding. During a meditation retreat, Clara encountered what she would later describe as an entity composed of shadow. While meditating in a secluded spot in the woods, she felt the violent winds swirling around her. Peeking from behind her closed eyelids, Clara noticed a shadow flickering just at the edge of her awareness, a figure clothed not in malice, but in frailty and experience. Much unlike other accounts, this shadow carried a different energy, almost reminiscent of a long-lost friend waiting to make contact. This encounter guided Clara toward a significant revelation. she realized that her own shadows, her unresolved feelings, insecurities, and fears, mirrored this elusive entity. Instead of instilling fear, it compelled her to embark on a path of self-discovery, leading her to seek therapy and confront her past traumas. Perhaps, she mused, these shadows aren't just outside but are reflections of my inner turmoil. Clara's story elevates the discussion from merely seeking answers about shadow people to navigating the landscape of mental health and emotional resilience. This interdisciplinary approach has opened doors for mental health professionals to evaluate these reports through a different lens. These encounters reveal more about our psyche than the entities themselves. Shadow people may embody the fears we've suppressed. They may emerge when we need to confront our past. As we break down the stigma surrounding mental health, individuals such as Clara have begun to view their experiences not as signs of weakness or mental breaks but as invitations to embrace their innate vulnerabilities and seek growth. Now, let's examine the historical context surrounding shadow people. Throughout the ages, societies have recorded various shadowy figures in their folklore, beings that serve as harbingers of danger or guardians of ancient wisdom. For instance, in ancient Egyptian mythology, the concept of the ka can be likened to a person's shadow, which represents the essence of an individual that follows them beyond life. It's intriguing to note how cultures connect these figures with existential themes, signaling the idea of shadows as intrinsic to life and death. In the modern age, these connections persist. Whether one's perspective is rooted in psychology, folklore, or spiritual beliefs, a thread woven into every narrative is that of fear and the desire for understanding. Is it merely a coincidental byproduct of our collective anxieties, or does it suggest an inherent intertwining with the nature of our reality? We also find compelling insights from individuals who have sought to engage with shadow beings. Some paranormal investigators and enthusiasts have attempted to document their experiences using technology like infrared cameras, EVP, electronic voice phenomena, recorders, and electromagnetic field meters. These devices aim to capture evidence, concrete data to support their encounters and possibly bridge the gap between skepticism and belief. One such investigator, a woman named Lisa, shared her ambitious quest to connect with shadow people using paranormal techniques. On a series of expeditions in reportedly haunted sites, she meticulously documented fluctuations in EMF readings and recorded eerie sounds during times when shadow figures were said to appear. Yet, her resolve was often met with mixed results. While she garnered fascinating evidence to tantalize her peers, the shadow entities she sought evaded direct communication. Instead, they proved to be silent, elusive presences moving on their own terms. I realized that these beings, if they exist, may not be interested in our human understanding or even recognition, Lisa reflected. Their existence serves a purpose beyond our comprehension. Her experiences echoed sentiments shared by many who have felt the tantalizing tug of these shadows. Like characters on their own life stage, these entities play a role that often oscillates between intrigue and dread. Returning to the stories of near misses and inexplicable encounters, consider this account shared by Alexander, a construction worker who experienced a harrowing shadow sighting while renovating an old building. He often witnessed odd occurrences, tools misplaced, doors opening and closing, and flickers of light in the corners of his site. One night, amidst the solitude of the desolate construction site, he encountered the peak of his unease. There, beside a half-open doorway, stood a shadow figure, crisp yet indistinct. As he approached, it seemed to beckon him forward, only to dissipate at the threshold moment. What was it trying to tell me? He pondered as he ruminated over the lingering encounter. Alexander began researching the land's history and learned that the site once housed a community devastated by a tragic fire. The realization struck him: could the shadow he encountered be a remnant of past sorrow, lingering within the walls of this structure? This revelation stirred questions about collective memory and how aspects of human experience can transcend time, spiraling into layers of existence. As we circle back to the essence of these narratives, what emerges is an invitation, a robust dialogue confronting humanity's existential dread and fragility. Whether perceived as reflections of our psyche, guardians, or messengers from alternate dimensions, shadow people force us to grapple with the fear of the unknown. They serve as avatars for our struggles, whispering truths about our fears while igniting innate curiosity. To draw our exploration to a thoughtful conclusion, we must acknowledge the profound impact shadow people have across cultures and individuals. They challenge us to confront not just our fears but also our beliefs about reality. These encounters allow a glimpse into uncharted territories of the human experience, places where anxiety, spirituality, and the unknown intermingle. In dealing with shadow people, we are reminded that fear is not to be shunned or stigmatized, but rather embraced, a pathway to understanding ourselves more deeply. Perhaps the next time you find yourself sensing a shadow in the corner of your eye or hearing a whisper in the night, you'll pause to reflect. Instead of viewing them as mere figments of your mind, might they represent the innermost facets of your journey? As we close this chapter of exploration, we invite you to consider your own relationship with fear and the shadows that dance within your life. Are you prepared to confront them? Are you willing to learn from the darkness? The next time you wake in midnight stillness, recognize that within the shadows, there may be echoes of understanding waiting to be discovered. After all, in embracing the shadows, we illuminate the very essence of what it means to be human.